extract the user behavior and things. Sorry, I've been getting some pop-up on my side, so just wondering what's that. I'm good. Yeah, and the last one is data science. So net, like what this kind of calls out is like game development is like an expensive investment to begin with, and not just the idea, right? Like how we kind of like build around things in the idea and how we take it to the customers are so important. And every game go through, if I'm not wrong, minimum 5-year journey before it can start kind of like getting positive revenue run rate in general. And which is why like we see only the dominant players on the gaming ecosystem like Activision Blizzard, EA Sports, Tencent, Take-Two, etc. And yeah, I mean, I have a small video. I'm not sure, like in case like if you guys are interested to kind of like know how a workplace for gaming looks like, I would pass the deck. I'm not going to play the video now, but you guys can play through. This is one of our office in Stockholm, where like most of the game development happens for King mobile games, including Candy Crush. You guys can kind of understand the vibe around gaming community and how things are basically. I'm going to skip this. Sorry, thought I'm skipping. Yeah. And just like added few questions that kind of goes around, right? Okay, we kind of like talked about mobile games, and we know that is where the growth is. And we see the PC, console, and handheld games are kind of saturated. So the question naturally comes in like, where are we on streaming games? Because like Google made a huge investment few years back in terms of like streaming games. Again, like sometimes what happens is like the technology is not so matured yet, especially like gaming is computational intensive, as we all know, memory and computational intensive. So it's not yet simple to run a gaming via web browser, which is what Google was trying to attempt it. We can run like smaller games, primarily using like some of the Chrome web engines. But like when it comes to the real meaty games with multiplayer enabled, we are still not there yet in order to run the games on streaming platform. That's one of the reasons that we don't see much of a traction on the streaming games yet. But there will be a world where like if we have much more capacity on like local devices, and if the browser can harness those capacity, then definitely like we can start streaming the games as well. But today we have very few platforms streaming the game, but it's more like a one-way streaming, right? But if you really want to stream the game and be interactive in the game or play the game, we are not there yet. So that's something that I want to kind of throw it out. Similarly, on the other slide. So yeah, so what's the trend? Where are we heading towards in the world of gaming, right? So as it is highlighted, the concept is the crux of any game. So that's the, what do I say? That's the kind of IP or the essential sauce. What happened so far is like we have the concept and the companies which were able to harness how to take the concept to social and how to make social part of the gaming concept. Like, for example, going back in time, if you guys remember, like Candy Crush, when they launched to Facebook, they had a mechanism to kind of like get the lives from friends, for example, things like that. So how we tie up the gaming concept and social is a key ingredient in today's world. And on top of it, like now current trend is more towards like multiplayer game, so MPG. So whichever company that was able to crack the MPG really well, they are kind of like very strong in the community for now. So that's the current ecosystem. But where are we heading towards, right? So that's the kind of question that comes in. So at least in my view, I see still concept is going to be the crux, which is one of the reasons why Microsoft is ready to pay $69 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard in the history of any other gaming company, right? So concept is still the crux. All the title and the concept is still the essence of everything. But we see that things are slowly coming up around. So now at least I see the 3D games are getting more traction. For example, like Unity has a 3D game engine, and there are a few more as well. So 3D is like more real and getting traction now. And it's going to kind of extend to immersiveness in the game. So the whole thing is like, even though we use different jargons for AR, etc., the ideal thing that the customers are looking for is that how immersive I can get into the game. So that's the part where AR helps, basically augmented reality. Not just in gaming, AR helps with like e-commerce and other domains as well. But in gaming, we are seeing real use case where like AR can start helping to create the immersive experience with the audience. But it's not taken off yet, but that's the next thing. At least I see it's going to be a key one, followed by metaverse, which is the virtual reality. Sometimes what happens is the tech is there, but the enablers for the tech, like the devices in case of like VR, which is like kind of you have to put something on the eyes, etc., they are like still not easily accessible or easily portable. So there are like still tons of things to do in the VR world before like we can take games into the metaverse, where like metaverse is more like I can go into a metaverse world. I can start like playing different games, and I can organize games like esports, for example, within the metaverse world. So the way I see is like currently 3D picked it up. Slowly, like the AR is picking up on the gaming side. And then like a metaverse, I would say like we are 3 to 5 years away in order to even visualize how things are going to look like eventually. And yeah, that's how I see things around the future. And coming back to, right, like back to our original question, monetizing basically. So even though like now you all know like internet is full of freemium products basically, and the challenge comes in is like, how do I monetize the freemium products? And which is where like digital advertising plays the key part, or the kind of lion's share, I would say. And it's going to be the case basically because the engagement the user has with the digital advertising compared to any other form of advertising is like is way high. And also the brand awareness, the return of investment in terms of like user buying the product or interacting with the product, etc., is really high. So, and the second one, we all know like the subscription or pay per usage model is going to stay, even though the subscription is more recently it took off in the last 10 years, but it's going to stay in order to kind of like monetize the freemium products in the internet, which is why we see like everything which was free initially, starting with like Google Drive storage or Gmail, etc., everything now has a cap. And beyond the cap, the company wants us to kind of like pay the subscription, which is going to be the case for any products we use as a freemium model. And the third one, which we see slowly happening, is like user participated experiments or study. We have also seen some startups coming around this, right? So where like there was a startup that was kind of allowing users to watch movies for free, but the users had to engage in a 15 minutes experiment in terms of, it could be a survey, it could be more like some questions and interactions, or some study in general. So essentially, like what it says is, if the user is ready to spare the time, the freemium products can monetize the time with the money, and based on that, they can kind of like generate revenue. So from my eyes, again, like I see these three going to be the dominant areas where the monetization is going to continue happening. And yeah, and the last one I want to touch in today's conversation is like a metaverse. I know like it's kind of a thingy going around, but I want to kind of like understand what you all have been thinking. Oh, sorry, the next slide. If you all can again like go to Menti and use the code 44273390, you will have a question. What do you think about metaverse? If you can put few words from your own thought process, would be fantastic. And I'm going to again get the Menti board back. Okay, so let me go back to the other question. Loading. Yep. If you guys can see, it is like 44273390. That's the Menti code. I want to understand like what we all think about metaverse, then we can go from there. I'll wait to get some thoughts over here. And based on that, like I can take the conversation forward. Whatever you think, feel free to. And you would see some of the response I have seen from different CEOs talking about it. Nice, interesting. Yeah, augmented reality, virtual reality plays a part. Yeah, definitely the view around like uselessness, etc., stays in virtual dimension. You guys are already kind of like hitting the crux of it. Again, like I'll take a minute. If it crosses 20 plus, I would stop as you are. I mean, yeah, just to kind of make sure we use the time better. NFT, yes. Mark Zuckerberg, yeah, very nice. Definitely like Facebook is the biggest investor in the metaverse world. You would see my next slide connecting to it. Meta's dream project, yes. Hypothetical world, future. Yeah, nice view. So again, like I will switch back. I think as we see the virtual reality, virtual world, and people thinking it is useless kind of stays in the middle. And let's see like what others like us are thinking, right? So I'll talk about it. Like, so some of the key companies and CEOs kind of called or made this comment, right? Recently, like I was watching few things and learned this. So for instance, like Snap CEO was saying like metaverse is nothing but living inside a computer. And the Xbox CEO was saying like metaverse is poorly built video game. That's the kind of like one sentence they kind of summarize it. A company called Activate, its CEOs kind of call out like it metaverse leads to new tech innovation. Definitely, like he's more optimistic in terms of what he sees with metaverse. And like Disney CEO, when people asked him like, "What do you think about metaverse?" He was more like, "It's a big, broad term, basically." It's more like if you guys like go back in time when many companies like start to reuse the client server computing model as a cloud computing model, which is essentially the same, at least to my eyes. It all looked the same way, but those companies were able to monetize it by selling that there is something called cloud computing. And even now, many of the companies are kind of making that as a big marketing campaign and getting people move from like on-prem software to client server model / cloud computing. And that's how like Disney CEO thinks. He thinks like it's a big broad term basically. And this is from Apple team, a word I would never use. That's from Apple SVP for I think privacy and gaming as well. This is how like the industry thinks, which aligns with some of your thought in the Mentimeter, right? Like um, and aligning to their one, I'm not sure like how many of you are able to get this graph. Again, like I thought the session would be interactive and I can ask people what do you think of. I can kind of open it up, right? Like this is the recent last 5-day performance of like Facebook parent company Meta stock. And as you all know, like Facebook, I don't know, it kind of made a very quick, drastic decision to rebrand the company as a metaverse company in no time. And the market and the investors are not convinced on it. And that's one of the reason the most recent earnings from Facebook were not satisfying to the investors basically. And the stocks got dinged 30% or so. So Facebook used to be like more than $350 last 6 months or before, and now they are below $100. And one of the key reasons, at least I observe, the stocks has been treated this way is like because of the not so well thought approach towards metaverse basically. So Facebook had invested so heavily on metaverse in terms of their R&D and operating cost, but they don't have a convincing product out of it yet, which is why market is not kind of convinced to say that metaverse is like ready, basically. So in general, metaverse is similar to, let's say, like we are talking about flying cars and things, right? Flying cars has been a tech that is around, but the market is not ready to take it. And similarly, like metaverse is kind of like you all said, like it's a virtual reality world where like I can open a store, I can have my own world, I can have my own movie theater, I can have my own house. It could go as crazy as possible, but the concept is already there in the world of multiplayer gaming, basically. So if you guys are playing games with multiplayer mode, you already see that we are in a kind of a meta world or a virtual reality world. And metaverse is kind of an expansion to that world where it's more commercialized. And Facebook is taking that as the future vision, which is not something that everybody bought in fully, and which is why we are seeing this performance from Facebook. Yeah, and that's the metaverse. I have few slides around like ads. So essentially, like I was thinking to cover like three pieces: gaming, advertising, and then the last piece more towards like building high scale system. I don't think we have time today, so I'm going to stop here. Over to professors over there, and let me know, because like we kind of around 1 hour now. Back to folks over there. And happy to take any questions too. I have time, not a problem.
Are you able to hear me? Yeah. If you are fine with the time, if you can touch upon that last part of it, you would be interested in knowing that building scalable systems.
Sure, ma'am. At least I'll go.
If you are all right with the time.
Yeah, I'll take like another 5 to 10 minutes to kind of like talk about ads briefly, but I'm thinking like we may need another slot in order to go deeper onto this high scale systems and stuff, ma'am. So I'll stop around like the domain today, but we will eventually get to the scaling part or building the system part in a different slot.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, ma'am. So yeah, then let's kind of like briefly touch upon ads. So I have okay. Am I presenting the right screen? No, just a second. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you guys should be able to see it. Yeah, now that like we kind of touched upon the gaming world and the future of gaming and the monetization of gaming, and as you all know, like I am part of Activision Blizzard Media, which is a small startup within broader Activision Blizzard and King. And my team goal is to kind of like build a monetization platform, primarily like leveraging advertising part of the monetization. And which is why I thought let's cover advertising as well. So I'll briefly touch few things, like something to keep you guys aware of like advertising and connect to things. Essentially, like if we call advertising in the digital medium, it's primarily like today rewarded videos. Like you all know, like if you are playing a game, you have a video in between. When you watch the video, you would get a reward. And the mechanism of like giving a reward for the user had definitely changed the whole equation in terms of engagement, brand awareness, and all the key metrics and the performance. So that's one of the product you would see most often. Interstitials are more like if you're watching a YouTube video, ads comes in and the ads kind of occupy the whole screen of your phone. So interstitial is essentially like the ads that are occupying the whole screen for a moment to show the product, and then it kind of like shrinks back. That is kind of interstitial. And we are seeing the trend more towards like rich media ads. Rich media ads are more dynamic ads. The reason is like now the key brands who are investing on ads, they want the user to interact with the ads. For example, like when I view an ad, people want user to buy a product within the ad. So which means I am in a game, I'm viewing a brand campaign like McDonald's, for example, and over there, I should be able to buy something, for example. So they want to complete the whole purchase funnel just within showing an ad. So which is what more like a rich media or interactive ads. And you probably, like many of you would have noted, like if you have watched ads, you would also see like playables coming in. So you can even play the ads, for example. So these are the three key products any platform in advertising offers, including Google. And this is general, like we also like kind of see the data around what makes an advertising campaign successful. And in general, like we see that people who are kind of looking at the rewarded content of the advertising likes it in general. And we have a mixed opinion, but like generally the trend we are seeing is more towards like rewarded advertisement is kind of like taking the churn basically. Going in, few things I just want to briefly touch upon before I kind of call this out. This is the last slide. At least I'll stop here. So the road forward for advertising in terms of the domain, right? So privacy is a huge challenge in front of us. More recently, like Apple had kind of deprecated the IDFA, or the device identifier, which are used to target to kind of run the target advertising. It's more like a unique identifier. Every device or every user has it, so that the companies can kind of understand the user needs and target accordingly. But given the recent privacy change, what Apple made, now that every user need to provide a consent in order to even view the ad. So that is going to play a key part in terms of like how advertising is going to shape up for the future. And there is going to be like continued focus on the targeted advertising. So I'm not sure how many of you noted, like many of us noted, like even before I think about a product, I started seeing advertisement about the product, because like the internet companies started kind of connecting the data and try to understand what I'm going to purchase next. And there are so many horror stories around this basically. So targeted advertising is going to be a key part of the growth, so that like we exactly know what the user wants to buy or what want to involve with. Accordingly, we can target the audience. And similarly, like user experience is more key with respect to advertisement, because like there used to be a world where like the game experience and the advertisement experience doesn't sync in well, because of which the kind of engagement rate was so low. But now the industry is moving towards to have user experience more native to the game. And people who played Candy Crush, for example, started offering let's say like level 150 to 200 to Sony. If Sony is releasing a new game, the level 150 to 200 would be decorated with Sony's theme in terms of the new movie, for example. That is what we call it as more native to the game. So we are not disturbing the user experience in terms of the look and feel, etc. But at the same time, we are making sure the user can view the ads and get interacted with the content. And we see that users wants more and more rewarded content, because there are like non-rewarded as well. So if you are watching YouTube, it is in general non-rewarded. Essentially, it allows us to view the view the video, but there is no reward for the user apart from just like getting to the video basically. So there is also like more traction around what sort of reward I'm going to get if I watch an ad. So that sort of thing is also around here. So I'll stop here. And maybe like if time permits, we can again connect to talk more about the platform engineering involved in building these systems on gaming and advertisement. I'll stop here. Back to you, ma'am, or sir over there.
Thank you, Saravanan. I'll just ask the audience for any questions.
Sure, I have time. I like to take questions if we have something.
Yes. Yeah. If you have any questions with respect to the current topic on gaming and advertising, you are free to ask.
Yeah, if somebody can repeat, it would be helpful. I cannot hear it fully.
Saravanan, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you can repeat the question, I can kind of take
sure,
a
sure. On it. Yeah, I'll connect with the audience.
Any questions, guys?
Yeah, okay. Good evening, sir, probably. And
Saran, can you hear the question?
Yeah, I barely heard, but I would request like one of us to kind of repeat the question.
yeah, okay. So first of all, good evening, sir.
Hi.
Yeah, so you guys know Fortnite, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Fortnite's one of the most prominent features they have been updating their game on is like bringing in new characters from movies and series and whatnot, and they're actually trying to publicize stuff like that. So say if there's a Star Wars movie coming out, every December there is Star Wars a theme based outfits released and stuff like that, and similar stuff like say Marvel and whatnot. So do you think there's an efficient advertising platform, or do you think
Yeah, I think I heard the essence of the question. I mean, yeah, thank you for your observation on Fortnite. And as we kind of briefly touched upon, the advertising has to be native to the game, which is what the brand wants it. And which is why like not just Fortnite, even the other games are going to build advertising experience more embedded into the game user experience. So there used to be a world where game is nothing but you have a screen, you have a content placeholder, you have a screen. So it's kind of essentially like stitching a bunch of screen with few placeholders in between. And in that placeholder, you run the ads. Now, what happens is those ads are disruptive to the user in terms of like losing the kind of focus from the user, etc. Now, what at least the data we are seeing is the more native the advertisement embedded with the game, the powerful it is in terms of engagement and also like monetizing the user. So back to what you commented, you're absolutely right. The data shows that is how things are going to head forward, basically.
okay? So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, don't be shy. Feel free to ask me.
Stop here.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you. My question is with regards to two things you spoke about. One is with respect to the game streaming market, and the other is with respect to the number of players model that you're talking about, that pie chart that you showed. So, sir, as far as India is concerned, majority of the players here are invested in mobile games. But as we can see from the acquisitions that you talked about, PlayStation getting Bungie, and Xbox getting hold of Activision Blizzard, which are all mostly PC based gaming developers. Do you think that the game streaming market, if upgraded a bit more, if they were marketed a bit better, uh, it could mean more money for game developers, because people here would have access to a bigger platform, such as the PC gaming market, especially with platforms like GeForce Now and Stadia being coming up.
Yeah, that's a good question and good observation as well. So I think that the data again we are seeing is like the acquisitions are mainly happening for the companies which are successful in mobile, not in PC. For example, the acquisition from our side, which is like still not done, but I can comment on it briefly. So Activision Blizzard roughly has like 400 million monthly active users, roughly here, give or take, out of which almost around 300 million monthly active users are from mobile. So which means like almost like 3/4 of the user base is just mobile audience. And recently, like Microsoft Xbox CEO Phil Spencer has even like kind of put a plan in terms of like he sees a real opportunity with mobile more than Activision and Blizzard traditional titles. The titles are powerful, but the kind of mobile audience base the company has built with close to like 300 million active users per month is amazing. And that's what the real money and real platform what Xbox sees. So my 2 cents is like, I think compared to streaming and PC, mobile gaming and mobile advertising is going to be the key. The reason is like the reach, basically. As I said, when Call of Duty Mobile came out, within like few weeks, we saw like more than 100 million user base. As simple as that. That is very hard to happen in other platforms. Because it makes the game more portable and available anytime. Even like when I'm at bed, I can easily grab a phone and start playing, etc. So now back to Indian market. I think like the way we are seeing is like Indian market is also very powerful with mobile based audience, because like the device cost and the internet cost are so affordable in India compared to any other countries. So we are seeing like explosive growth in the mobile market in general, and mobile gaming market is yet to boom fully. The only challenge or kind of opportunity we see is we are not still able to crack the monetization model for India, at least in India, for example. The reason is like we don't see much of a brand lift or brand awareness with respect to like this is in general, not just my company I'm talking about. So I think the market is yet to fully understand the dynamics of Indian user base and how to monetize it. So it will take some time, but eventually I see the real opportunities like mobile audience compared to like any other platform. Streaming is going to be there for a segment of audience, and it will eventually like take off in a good way. Like, for example, esports is there. How many of you know like esports is there? Esports is more like similar to watching a cricket game. There will be a game happening like middle of the stadium where like a few teams would be kind of competing the game, and they will stream the game in the stadium. But that is again like for a targeted specific user base. But the power and the reach is only in mobile. So I think I strongly believe like mobile investment is the best in advertising for now. I hope I kind of commented. I'm not.
Yes, sir. Just a follow-up question. You spoke about expanding upon the big scale backend development for having multiple players and for advertising and data collection. Would you like to? I know this is a question you probably get. I know this probably a question you get asked a lot recently with Overwatch 2. But how do you deal with big player queues? Because Overwatch 2 has become a meme as of now with big player queues, like almost stretching up to 800,000 players.
Yeah. Scaling is a challenge. Similar to like how people watch the recent like games in cricket, where like Hotstar was kind of scaling beyond what, like if I'm not wrong, almost 500 million users or so. So similarly, like gaming also has a challenge. So there are like few things we kind of like make sure, like on the infra level, the key advantage we have is like we kind of have things ready and warmed up for the traffic, given that we have data to know the pattern of traffic. So which means like we would kind of bite the even though let's say like we are going with Kubernetes, for example. So in Kubernetes, like even though it can scale with the traffic, the scaling itself is going to take some time. So because of which we have to kind of like pre-build and have things ready and up and running, and we scale in and scale out accordingly. And we try to keep the runtime logic as minimal as possible, whatever that is required for the game. And we're also trying to kind of invest more on the caching in the device side of the game. So we try to load the asserts, the game asserts and the game decisioning tree, etc., much earlier in the device itself, so that the real-time connect is much more low, basically. But yeah, you're right. So the challenge around scaling for supporting high scale, large audience in a shorter time frame is definitely like an opportunity. And there are various ways it can be a result, similar to what Hotstar did recently. We are also kind of in line with those patterns. We will talk more about it. I think I'm pretty sure we'll have a slot on this. I can go deeper on those areas too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful session. I'm sure everyone here has a deeper understanding of the trends and the operations involved behind the scenes. And so at this point, I thank the department for giving us a wonderful opportunity and inviting another minister to give us this talk. And I thank faculty coordinators, Dr. Chitra Ma'am, for the effort they put in conducting this session. And I also thank each and every participant here for having the patience and the interest in attending the session. And last but not least, I thank you so once again for sparing valuable time in your busy schedule and conducting this session. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Saravanan.
Thank you. Have a nice one, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for waking up. That is you. It's late night for you. I think almost 11 o'clock for you. Thanks a lot for staying up and doing this session for me.
Absolutely. I should thank you, ma'am. Thank you and Bala sir and others who had the persistent follow-up. And thanks for the opportunity, ma'am, to kind of like interact with the students and kind of like show what I